In just the last week alone, Donald Trump started a trade war with Canada. He murdered 4 more people in another illegal boat bombing in the Caribbean, bringing the estimated death toll to 227. He's escalating the war with Iran via his dumbass economic D-Day announcement by threatening to punish all of their trade partners, which includes countries that we also happen to do business with too, mind you, so that's inevitably going to hurt us as well. Not to mention the Supreme Court just gave him a preliminary victory in his fight against mail-in ballots. But aside from his ongoing attack on democracy and international peace and stability, he can't stop stepping on rakes every single time he opens his mouth. He's still continuing to scoff at the affordability issue and pretending like it's a Democratic Party hoax, and he's even stupid enough to defend data centers, even though the rest of his party is running away from them at 100 miles an hour due to how unpopular they are. And on top of that, he can't even meet the minimum requirements for basic governance. He's destroyed public health by gutting agencies that oversee food safety, which is why it feels like there's a new outbreak of some foodborne illness every single week. And it's why it's also so difficult to contain them, because the agencies tasked with protecting our food are operating at a lower capacity than they're required to operate at to be effective. And all of this is happening because Donald Trump is too busy doing insider trading to govern properly. As the New Republic reports, Trump made 1,000 stock purchases in the month of June alone, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious. For example, he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Boeing stock the same day that they were awarded a multi-million-dollar government contract. And if that wasn't brazen enough, he's selling a $100,000 a month subscription for special market-related posts on Truth Social, so that way other rich people can use his presidency for insider trading as well. It's like he is trying to lose this election, and it's so bad that some Republicans are actually starting to distance themselves from him because they see how unpopular he is, and they hope that he doesn't sink their chances of winning as well. I mean, Democrats couldn't have dreamed of a better villain to run against in November, but yet some of them are directing their ire towards Twitch streamer Hasan Piker instead of Donald Trump. Congressman Brad Sherman accused Hasan Piker of encouraging and justifying violence against American Jews. Cory Booker said that Hasan Piker's dangerous and hateful language targeting Jewish Americans has no place in our civil discourse. Hakeem Jeffries called Piker's comments dangerous and anti-Semitic, and in total, 10 different Democrats have condemned Hasan Piker's remarks. The question is, what the fuck did he say that garnered so much outrage? Because I like Hasan, but I'll admit that sometimes he's an edgy guy who memes a little bit too close to the sun. But he had to have said something so much worse than ever before to warrant this level of criticism out of nowhere, right? Well, the answer is that he's actually saying the opposite of what they're accusing him of saying, but see for yourself.
As an anti-Zionist Jewish person whose temple is Reform and deeply Zionist, it's difficult to even approach trying to change their minds. No, I understand that. I understand that. Look, to the anti-Zionist Jews in my community, you have a very tough job ahead of you. Well, you have to go back to your communities and try to get your elderly relatives to understand that this connection between Israel and Zionism that is expressed over and over again through a lot of these Jewish institutions, okay, is teaching people the idea that Jews are monolithic. And this is because look, it's a very dangerous mode of propaganda. And you want to know why? Because people don't fuck with Israel any longer. And if Jews in America keep putting this idea out there that they are singularly invested in Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action, not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews. Okay? We're teaching people the wrong lesson. At the end of the day, American Jews do not prioritize Israel, but they do prioritize anti-Semitism. And that's precisely the reason why a lot of this propaganda that is facing the American Jewish side from a lot of these Jewish outlets, right, will tie the two all the time. And we hear that from outlets like ZBS as well, right? When the host asked Angie Nixon, like, oh, well, don't you think we shouldn't stop giving weapons to Israel at a time when anti-Semitism is exploding? Where's the connective tissue between these two events? American Jews do care about anti-Semitism. It's understandable to care about anti-Semitism. They don't care about Israel. So how do you tie the two? You say, well, Israel is the only thing standing in the way of the next Holocaust happening.
So to recap, it's a scandal because he said it's dangerous to portray Jewish people as a monolith and to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism because it gets people to unjustifiably blame Jewish people for the actions of the Israeli government, which is bad, to be clear. He's saying anti-Semitism is bad. And listen, I'll take it a step further. His comments aren't just not controversial. I actually think that it's anti-Semitic for these Democrats to condemn what he said, because by cynically conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism to run cover for a genocidal government, they're doing the thing that he's warning against. They're the ones inadvertently inciting hate against Jewish people by linking them to the Israeli government as if they're one and the same, when that couldn't be further from the truth. Judaism is a religion that is thousands of years old, whereas Zionism is a fascist ideology just over 100 years old that's trying to hijack an entire religion to justify a racist ethno-state. And conflating Zionism with anti-Semitism doesn't even make sense, given how there are actually more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. And it's bizarre to single out Hasan Piker for his comments when Democratic darling Ezra Klein made the same exact point. In an April op-ed for the New York Times, he argued anti-Zionism is rising as a response to what Israel is doing. It will simply not be possible to treat it as a marginal viewpoint that can be shamed or shunned into invisibility. Yes, anti-Semitism often cloaks itself in anti-Zionism, so don't do the anti-Semites work for them. If you keep telling people that if they oppose the Jewish state, that they must hate the Jewish people, eventually they will believe you. No condemnations from Democrats for that statement from Ezra Klein, by the way. And it's especially gross to see Democrats defame Hasan Piker when he has gone out of his way to make it clear that his criticism of Israel is in no way applicable to the Jewish people. And that really shouldn't have to be said. Nobody accused the left of Islamophobia for condemning Saudi Arabia's genocide in Yemen. Nobody called the left racist for condemning the genocide of Sudan that was carried out by rapid support forces. I've never been accused of being anti-Arab for condemning Morocco's occupation of the Sahrawi people in the Western Sahara. But when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden, we're bigoted for condemning colonialism and genocide. I mean, it's complete horseshit, and everybody sees through the game that's being played. Not to mention, Hasan Piker couldn't be more explicit in his condemnation of anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is a canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's one of the oldest bigotries that has caused those of the Jewish faith a tremendous amount of pain. From pogroms to the Holocaust, Jews have always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for instability and economic volatility people in power cause. A resilient, nascent anti-Semitism is a constant threat, especially as economic instability makes those in power seek out old targets. They're not very creative, usually. They just always rehash the same propaganda over and over again. This is precisely the reason why I am terrified of the conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. The conflation is dangerous. Valid criticisms against the state, especially as all of the violence is unfolding, and everyone can see it, valid criticisms against the state committing these atrocities and tying it back to Judaism is a cynical ploy to stop all matter of conversation is truly terrifying. And I think it directly causes anti-Semitism to fester.
Yeah, spoken like a true bigot. And I do feel compelled to go the extra step and defend Hasan Piker because to me, it feels like he's a proxy for the left more broadly speaking. Like they're directing the ire that they have for all of us at him and sending us a message and attacking Hasan Piker. When we are perfectly reasonable here, they're the bad guys. We're not the bad guys. Anti-Zionism is an extension of anti-fascism and anti-racism and progressivism more broadly speaking. And when Democrats falsely accuse Hasan Piker of anti-Semitism, it feels like they're signaling to me that I also have to shut the fuck up. They're telling me I have to make an exception for one form of bigotry against Palestinians in order to feel welcome by this party. But you know what? I refuse. Fuck that. I will make no exceptions for bigotry. If the roles were reversed and Palestinians were the ones doing the occupation of the genocide, I'd be opposed to that too, because I'm actually consistent in my opposition to colonialism and genocide. But I'm not going to be overly defensive here because I don't need to be. These disingenuous Democrats, they're the ones who should be defensive. They know what they're doing, okay? They should be defending themselves, not us. Because the real scandal is their support for genocide. They are cynically weaponizing legitimate concerns about anti-Semitism all so they can shut down criticism of the Israeli government and make anyone who dares to question what they're doing look like they're the bad guys. And, it's not just Hasan that they're doing this to. Mark Ruffalo is also facing the same kind of bullshit, but this goes beyond gaslighting. This is some Darvo shit. Like, these people are so diabolical to do something like this, and we all know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they can't make an affirmative case for genocide or apartheid because that'd make them look like huge pieces of shit. You can't say genocide good, so what do? They ironically cloak their support for an ethno-state in social justice language, and then they feign outrage over hateful rhetoric while simultaneously supporting one of the most violent and hateful ideologies in modern history. I'm sorry, you don't get to talk about social justice and bigotry when you're supporting a fucking genocide. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy listening to these motherfuckers. And Jules Nader did the math, and guess what? All of the Democrats who condemned Hasan Piker took a combined $13 million from the Israel lobby. And on the subject of their shamelessness, Cory Booker snapped this picture with Israeli war criminal Yoav Gallant weeks after the ICC issued an arrest warrant against him for genocide and crimes against humanity. But yet he wants you to believe that he cares about bigotry. Booker also held a fundraiser with Jared and Ivanka before, and he voted to confirm Jared Kushner's father, Charles Kushner, in 2025 to be ambassador to France, despite him having to be pardoned by Trump following his felony conviction. And this is a true story. When Charles Kushner found out that his brother-in-law was snitching on him to the feds, he hired a sex worker to try to lure him into having sex with her so he can film it secretly and then ruin his life, break up his marriage, just in retaliation because he snitched on him. It didn't work, but I think it speaks to how petty and vindictive he is. But Cory Booker had no qualms elevating this person to be an ambassador. And speaking of the Kushners, we just found out about Hakeem Jeffrey's secret meeting with Jared Kushner so they can find common ground, which is weird because someone who cares so deeply about hate and bigotry would never collaborate with somebody like that, who's trying to get rich by building luxury resorts over the graves of Palestinians in Gaza. That's despicable. But Hakeem Jeffries apparently wasn't bothered by Kushner's anti-Palestinian bigotry, obviously because they both agree. But you just think that, like, if Hasan was persona non grata for being so hateful, then the son-in-law of the fascist fucking president would also be beyond the pale. But that's not the case because these people are full of shit. I genuinely don't know how these Democrats live with themselves or sleep at night. But if their phony outrage over Hasan Piker didn't feel like a big enough middle finger to the base, then perhaps this news will. Andrew Sullender of Axios reports that multiple genocide-supporting Democrats just got positions on the Foreign Affairs Committee, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz, AIPAC darling Wesley Bell, and Jared Moskowitz, who's the ranking member of the MENA subcommittee, a position that he says he's going to use to shore up support for Israel in direct defiance of the base. As Ben Rhodes put it, this is not subtle. And he's right. And Ben Rhodes, by the way, is not some leftist extremist. He was a speechwriter for President Obama, and he also served as a deputy national security advisor. But even he can see that this move was deliberately intended to send a very clear message to any Democrat holding out hope that the party would stop supporting a literal genocide. And the message to us is that we should go fuck ourselves. That's the message. Now, they're going to pretend like that's not the case because they added Mark Pocan, but the establishment is making it very clear to us that the pro-genocide wing will remain dominant. They're always going to have more votes and more power than the anti-genocide wing of the party. And Jared Moskowitz, of all, is the biggest fuck you to the base because guess what? This man is a self-described DeSantis Democrat who supports Donald Trump's war with Iran. Genocide support was bad enough, but he supports the unpopular war with Iran. But I want you to hear it straight from the horse's mouth before they accuse me of being uncharitable or bad faith.
What I would like to see actually is a little tougher language coming out of the Trump administration. I'm to the right of this issue to the J.D. Vance-Witkoff approach, and I agree, quite frankly, more with Senator Lindsey Graham and probably Senator Tom Cotton. Iran is the weakest they've been in a period of time. Now is not the time to appease them. Now is the time to put maximum pressure on them and make sure that we dismantle the nuclear program. I'm not saying we should start bombing the facility, but I'm saying all options should be on the table, right? That is the Trump language.
That's who they're elevating. It's like they're trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. What the fuck are they doing? It almost feels like they're self-sabotaging or self-immolating to lose the election on purpose. And I don't necessarily think that they want to lose, but as Branko Marcetek put it in Jacobin, they unquestionably hate Hasan more than they like winning. Not because he's an anti-Semitic bigot, but because of what he stands for. That's what this is about. He's willing to hold their feet to the fire for their complicity with genocide, and they hate it. Hasan is making them look bad because they don't want their genocide support to be exposed, so this is their retaliation for that. And listen, this might sound like hope, but I sincerely believe that the establishment is hurting itself more than Hasan Piker, because the Democrats who actually want to win are looking at all of this hand-wringing and wondering, what the fuck are they even doing? And I think that Hunter Biden, of all people, had the most sensible response to all of this manufactured outrage about Hasan Piker.
I turn on these shows, and it's like a circular firing squad, because they end up talking about Hasan Piker for 45 minutes. You know what Hasan Piker did? Hasan Piker is a live stream guy that has been doing it for I don't know how many years, and he has thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of him just feeling shit talking into a microphone. By the way, but at the same time, you know what Hasan Piker's done? He has created a little bit of a movement of a group of people that are absolutely opposed to the fascism of Donald Trump. And you know what? I want to tap into that. I don't want to opt out of it. I want to figure out with Hasan Piker whether or not we can find common ground and fight against the same enemy. Instead, what these guys are doing is he's a virulent anti-Semite, and everybody's this, that, and the other thing. And it's just like, and he said this about 9/11, and he said that. It's like, my God.
And I feel like that's probably the takeaway that most normies are going to have too. And listen, Hunter Biden's dad was criticized ruthlessly by Hasan Piker as well as the left for supporting a genocide. But unlike the establishment, Hunter Biden's desire to win actually trumps any negativity that he might feel towards the left. He actually wants to win, which is why he's not jumping on this weird bandwagon to cancel Hasan Piker. And I feel like it's reasonable for him to take this position given how disastrous Donald Trump has been. But again, establishment Democrats, they don't necessarily care about winning. In fact, I would venture to say that they don't hate that Trump is in power because he gives them something to run on without having an agenda of their own. Like, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want to talk about healthcare because he doesn't support Medicare for all. So what is he going to say? He has no pitch to voters aside from, hey, Trump bad. So using Donald Trump as a proverbial gun against our heads is the only thing that the establishment has at this point to get us to support them. But I mean, either way, the anti-Hasan hysteria, it hurts no one but themselves. I truly believe that. Republicans, they're not going to give them credit for condemning Hasan, and they're only showing their base how out of touch they are with all of this pearl clutching. But at the end of the day, if you're a Democrat who actually hates Republicans and wants to stop fascists, then this entire kerfuffle demonstrates how the establishment are detrimental to that effort.